Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with the 2019 Holiday Roadshow. I want to thank every one of you all for coming today. And we are going to do a few little things before we do start with all the crafts that we've got today and the samples of foods. There are some housekeeping. The restrooms are across the hallway, down either to your, probably down to your right. There is an evaluation and an envelope under your plate. If you could take time to put your name and your address on that envelope, because in 3 months we're going to send you a follow-up evaluation. So if you just put your name and address, don't seal it up, because we are going to put an envelope and an evaluation in there in 3 months. And if you want to start looking at your evaluation, you can. There's a before and an after. So if you want to do the before, you can do that. So we'll take a couple of minutes and let you do that, and then we'll start back. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to talk about is managing holiday expenses and how to reduce spending to decrease financial stress. When we think about holidays, the most expensive one that comes to mind is which one? Christmas. Yeah, because we are buying gifts for not just our family, but for friends also. So to avoid the financial strain of the holidays, it is important to plan for the holiday throughout the year and adopt new, lower-cost traditions. So the first thing you want to do is develop a budget for the upcoming holiday. First, you want to review what you did for the holidays last year. Think about who you did give gifts to. Was anyone forgotten? And you want to add them to the list this year. Think about the challenges that you faced. Did you use your credit card too much? Did you spend more than you expected to spend? Also consider what worked well for your family. Did you draw names with family members to help decrease the cost? And with my family, we do that, because we have about 20 of us in our family, so we draw names, and that way we only buy 3-4 gifts, and that's all we have to do. Make a list of everyone who will receive a gift, and the amount that you want to spend on that person. The thing is, some people want to buy gifts for the mailman, for the hairstylist, teachers, babysitters, things like that. So make sure that you put them in there and you put down how much you want to spend for them. You can give handwritten notes of thanks or appreciation rather than buying a gift to help decrease the spending. Once a budget is made, it can still be hard to follow. So look at in-store sales and look at that before you actually go in and see if you actually need to buy something, because if you go into a store and you've not thought about it and you say, oh, that's on sale, that's a good deal, and you buy it, then you might not need it. Consider making purchases throughout the year. How many people do that? Buy all year round to get gifts for Christmas. That right there will take the stress of spending too much money at one time. How many people reuse and make their own decorations for Christmas? Okay, that's good. I mean, because we want to try to keep up with the new style for the year, but sometimes it's just not, it costs too much to do. So try to reuse what you did last year or add a little bit to it to make it a little different this year. Consider reusable plates. I know on occasion I use paper plates that are sort of decorative, but try to use more of your plates that you have at home that you can wash and reuse from year to year. Save previously, use gift bags, wrapping paper, tissue, bows, and ribbon for the next year. That's one thing I do. I have a container, I put all these in, and I hardly ever buy new paper or ribbon or bows. Okay, the first person we have coming up is Kayla Watts from Letcher County, and she's going to have some good ideas on using paint cans and chalk paste.
First. Thanks everybody for coming out this afternoon. Like Nanette said, my name is Kayla Watts and I'm from Letcher County. And my items begin in your booklet on page 1 with a semi-homemade paint can art. And so up here I have Miss Alyssa who's going to help me. Basically, we have upcycled paint cans. We have taken them and put scrapbook paper around them. You start with a thin layer of Mod Podge on the paint can, and then you take that scrapbook paper and just kind of work your way around the side of the can. You can decorate these up lots of different ways. Of course, if you do a lot of scrapbooking, you probably have scrapbook paper laying around the house anyways. That would be good to use that for this project. But you can use them to create little gift containers. This one I have wrapped and actually put some cooking utensils in it. And so you could set this out on your counter. This would be a really nice gift if you knew a young person moving out on their own for the first time, or someone who's learning to cook, or maybe a couple that's getting ready to be married. Just a nice way to gift items in a unique fashion. And of course, you wouldn't really have to even use a paint can. You could use old soup cans, tomato juice cans. They are taller and a little bit bigger. They would work really well for a project like this as well. And if you take a look at your picture in the booklet, the paint can that they've done there, they've actually used scrapbook paper. They have the words Merry Christmas on there. They've cut out little strips of ribbon and tied around the handles. So you really can be as creative, or what I call frou-frou, as you want with this project. This one, we actually did blue and white, and I took a little ornament that's glitzy looking, and I tied him on there. I actually got that ornament for $1 at the Dollar General store. So, you can find cute things in unique places as a way to kind of glitz up these paint cans. All right, if you turn the page to page 2, my next project were paintbrush ornaments, and these are really cute, pretty quick, fun to do, especially if you are working with kids. This is a kid-friendly activity, and so a lot of us have old paintbrushes laying around the house because what do we say? Oh, we'll use those the next time we paint. Let's clean them really good. We'll use them again. Do we really use them again? No, we don't. Okay, let's just be honest. That's me. We don't. So this is a way that you can kind of use those up. We basically have painted the handles, and then we took strips of white felt and hot glued it around the metal piece of the paintbrush, and then we used pom-poms for eyes and noses, and this one just had little stickers that we put on there too to kind of bling it up. We got those at the dollar store as well. If you want to walk down that way and kind of show, you can paint the actual bristle part, or you can leave it plain. And so just as creative as you want to be with these, the picture in your book shows a Grinch themed paintbrush ornament as well. So you could make these according to different Christmas characters from different movies. We have a snowman one where we painted him white and actually just drew his face on using a Sharpie marker. So pretty easy. And a lot of your paintbrushes, especially if they're wooden handled, they already have those pre-drilled holes. And so just find you some cute little Christmas ribbon and tie that in there and make you a few little ornaments. Okay, so the last items that I want to highlight are the chalk art items. And so we have a few different examples of that up here up front. And we'll let Alyssa hold up my my big snowman snowflake here. But a lot of you have probably heard of chalk paint, okay? So there's a similar product that's out now. It's called chalk paste. And it actually comes in a little tub container that looks like face cream. Okay, so a little small container, and it is an actual paste product. And so how you create designs using chalk paste is you have a surface, so that could be a chalkboard, piece of wood, piece of metal, a stencil, and then you take the chalk paste and you dab it on the stencil, and then you pull the stencil off, and ta-da! Literally takes about 15 minutes. I'm not even lying. It dries almost automatically. If you do chalk paste a product, you will want to let it set for about 10 minutes and then spray it with like an acrylic finish spray, just so that that chalk paste sets on that product. The other thing that I have up here that's pretty neat, this was actually done on a chalkboard. This is apple pie. It has the ingredients listed. This is a sign for your kitchen. She can carry that around. But what's neat about chalk paste is you can use it on lots of different surfaces. And so the products that I have brought with me today actually came from a company called Chalk Couture. Now, they are not the only company that make and sell chalk paste or the stencils to do the projects. So you can find chalk paste on Amazon, and sometimes you can find it at places like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And of course, you know that you can find stencils even at like Super Walmart or someplace like that. Or you could create your own stencils if you have a Cricut machine or something like that that you can cut vinyl out on. So lots of different options with that as well. And you know, these, we had a stencil for some quilt blocks. These wooden squares were actually purchased at Walmart for $6 or $7. Did the chalk paste and literally had these done in about 10 or 15 minutes. So lots of different options there. The chalk paste, you may say, well, that looks a little pricey when you check into it, but a little bit goes a long way. And what's really neat about the paste is once you put it on the stencil, you can actually use a straight edge of plastic to kind of scrape off what you don't need to use, and you just put it right back in the tub. So it goes a long way. All right, so the next page is my recipe, which they have brought around to you. And the name of my recipe, it's called Saucy Bars. And if you have been visiting the Extension office for any amount of time, you know that every year we have nutrition education calendars that come out. And a lot of you, I know, pick those up regularly. Well, this recipe actually came from the 2014 nutrition education calendar. And pick this recipe for a couple of reasons. Number one is during the holidays, if your family is like mine, we eat a lot of heavy, rich foods, and we tend to neglect breakfast, right? Because we're so busy cooking for that dinner meal that you just kind of snack around and eat whatever you can of the mornings. So these saucy bars can be made ahead of time and kept in an airtight container for 3 to 4 days. They're really good when they're warm, so you could heat them up, have them for breakfast. They can be topped with powdered sugar like the ones that I brought you today, or you could put fresh fruit on them. And just, you know, a good item to have around the house for breakfast or snacking during the holidays. The other reason why I chose these is because if you look in that ingredient list, there's nothing to what I call off the wall. A lot of those ingredients, if you're doing any kind of holiday baking, you probably are going to have those at your house anyways. So, you know, you may have to pick up some applesauce, but other than that, you probably have a lot of those ingredients at home. The ones that I shared with you today were made with raisins and the nuts. You could leave those two items out if you had an allergy or if you did not, you know, prefer those in the bars, but just know that the raisins are one of the reasons why they're so moist and why they stay moist. So bear that in mind if you do omit the raisins from the recipe. What do we think about the saucy bars? Pretty good? Yeah. Yeah, I liked them. Something different, right, than the normal holiday.
You have to put any shortening in them.
Right, yeah. That's even, yeah.
My mom used applesauce all the time.
To bake with, yeah.
Back with.
Makes everything moist, and for this recipe, it gives some flavor, too.
Yes. Especially spice
Cake.
Oh my gosh.
The saucy bars remind me of a spice cake.
It does.
Mhm.
It really does.
Okay, well, up next we have Miss Linda Combs, and she is here from Knott County.
One thing, if you do not have a water, let us know, and then there is hot cider back here in the back.
Okay.
Good afternoon. We are on our 8th one, so forgive us if we're just a little, scattered. Okay, they're going to start with my recipe, and because I just like to do a recipe first, it's on page 9. That way you can be tasting it while I do the rest of it. And also that way you hear the ingredients if I go over it. And if there's something in there that you're allergic to, then you can not eat it. When we started this several months ago, I sent out a message to my family, and I said, hey, I'm getting ready to do this program again. I'm traveling 8 counties. I want something that's easy to fix, that's really good, that I can fix ahead of time, don't have to warm up that day, all my picky stuff. So this is one that came back. I had several. This is one came back, and I chose this one. And the name of it was Christmas Crack. I obviously did not call it that. I call it sweet and salty. And the reason it's called Christmas Crack is you can't stop eating it. Yeah. Our administrative assistant in our office, she's really skinny, really, really picky. She's eaten about 3 batches now. I kept wondering why it was disappearing, and so today they confessed. She ate it. So the ingredients are, and I'm going to say a brand name. We don't usually do brand names, but I'm going to so that you will really know what I'm talking about. You use a sleeve of crackers, and by crackers, I mean Cesta crackers that we crumble up and put in our soup and chili, or we eat with a slice of cheese or something like that. I'm not talking about the little round crackers. You put a sleeve of crackers, my little parchment sheet. And we're also not used to a microphone, just forgive us. You take a jelly roll pan. Now, I found these, and usually if I find something that's new to me, I may buy it for work and show people that I'm working with something new, and then it's their choice. I bought these. They've been really good for this. You could also use wax paper, parchment paper. You could use Reynolds wrap, but the size of that is the size of a cookie sheet or jelly roll pan. You need a pan with size that I used. And that was a good illustration because I have one lady that whatever we fix, she wants to know exactly how big the pan is, what it was made of, and all of that. So, but that goes up a little bit of the sides. You turn the oven to 375 degrees. Then you put that on the cookie sheet, jelly roll pan, whatever you want to call it. You put your sleeve of crackers. I put the salted side up. It will not matter on this recipe, believe me. Put it up. It takes an entire sleeve of crackers to fit that sheet. I don't smash them. I just lay them down side by side in rows. Then on the stove, I'll have a pan, and I'll put my 2 sticks of butter. It doesn't matter if it's butter or margarine. This is one of those recipes that it doesn't matter. So 2 sticks of butter, and I did use the unsalted butter, but it won't matter, just what you have. Start melting that, then add a cup of brown sugar. Now here's the only tricky part. This is one of those recipes that you stand and you pay attention to. Once it starts to boil, you boil it for 3 minutes and you stir the entire time. Now 3 minutes is not long, okay? So you're not putting a lot of effort. It's not like making peanut butter roll. So because somebody came in the office, asked me a question, I turned around to answer them, I burned a batch. So you know your stove, so you know what's a good temperature. So you let that boil it for 3 minutes, then you pour that hot syrup over the crackers. Then you put that pan into the oven for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is up, you take it out, and you sprinkle a pack of dark chocolate chips over top. That's so hot that it starts melting the chocolate chips, and you take a spoon and you smooth that out. Then, this time of year, there's all kinds of goodies in the chocolate chip aisle and the sugar aisle and all that stuff. I chose toffee bits. Heath toffee bits. Then I put an entire bag over it. Then in the microwave, I melted 3 squares of the white chocolate that you use to coat candies with. And I drizzled that over it. Then you put it in the freezer and you let it get hard. Once it's hard, 15, 20, 30 minutes. You can leave it in there a little bit longer depending on what you're doing. It won't hurt it. You take it out and then you just start breaking it apart. Then I put it in a Ziploc bag until I got ready to put it in little containers for you all. It lasts 2 to 3 weeks as long as people won't eat it. But, and it's also, if you think about it, that's all the ingredients that's in it. So it is an inexpensive candy to make to give to people. And it's easy. You know, you just stand there for that 3 minutes and stir, but that's no problem. So now back to page 5. That's my window. So I'm also, if you've been with me before, you know I'm a person that uses my hands to talk with.
No, you only got one.
Well, I don't really have one. Okay, our theme is like to upcycle. This really, if you turn this around, you will notice that I did not, a lot of people do things with old window frames. Well, for one is I don't have any. 2 is if I had one, I would not want to carry it to 8 counties because they're usually bigger than that. I bought this at Walmart. Not supposed to say that one either. But, and it was about $16, which is not bad. So now we can turn it around. Now the grapevine wreath, that was one that we recycled. It came from a place where we paid $1 for it. The picks, the picks were already in the office. We're recycling here. And so I glued those on. The lights, and we have reused these lights too often, they no longer burn. So maybe a new set of lights every year for something like this. So, but I wrap my lights, I put my picks on, I place my bow, I figure out, oh, I like that. Then I will hot glue it in, wire it in. Now all I did was I wired this to my window frame. So it's easy to do. I have seen them use these, and they will they'll put like a quilt behind it. You could put up really pretty pictures behind it. Some lady told me that she had seen where they'd put all their grandchildren behind them, each pane. I've seen them take like a flag and drape it through there. And so you could really take this off and recycle it and make it different for every season. So that one's easy. And you all also know that anything that I do, that means that everybody in this room can do it. Okay. And like we said, we're learning how to do this. The next one that I saw was upcycling old books. I'm a reader. These are not books that you would probably read. You can go to Goodwill and somewhere and buy them. And sometimes our library will have books that have been used and used and used and used, and they're ready to fall apart. So I can buy those like for a nickel or something. So, but you take the back off, you get it down to the spine, and then you stamp on it. And like what I stamped is I had stamps at the office. I have like a bird, a snowflake. One says holiday wishes. One book says love. I tied a pretty, just a Christmassy type twine around it. I did use stamps. You put your stamp, and you have a scrapbooking place here in Letcher County. Really good. So they have all this stuff, and they have better stuff. And you put that on the acrylic block, and then you put it down in your ink, and then you hold it on the book. Now, I'm guessing that there's some people in this room that have really beautiful either script handwriting, block handwriting. Some of you may even do calligraphy. It would be easy for those people, I'm not one of those people, to write something beautiful on this. Can you imagine, like there's a newly wedded couple and you put their names on it and their wedding date, or it's their first Christmas in their new house, you put that on it. Our children might even make for us a stack, and it has all of our grandchildren's names and their birth dates on it. That would be nice just to put on it. I know that somebody told me that they had a spot on their TV shelf that something like this would just be perfect to sit there. So I started in Extension about 20 years ago. And so my ladies at that time, they gave me a gift. The lady that presented it to me painted this snowman on a paper bag. I don't have that talent, but I just loved it, and I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. So I put it up. So I was cleaning out a desk drawer a few months ago, and I found that. At the same time, on the internet, I found how to take, you know those really pretty gift bags we get? And we don't know what to do with, and you just go, that's about as pretty as the gift that's in it. Well, it was showing you how to take one of those gift bags and to make a piece of artwork. So I thought, I'm going to do it a snowman. So that's what I did. Then I had to buy the frame, cut the snowman bag to fit my frame, and I had to get the frame to fit the snowman, so I probably would have chosen a different frame, but I had to get one to fit my snowman. So if you notice, you can see some little bitty holes. You take a stick pin, needle, straight pin, and you make holes in it. Then you take some battery-operated lights, and you'll put one light behind each one of those holes, and you tape it down. And then what I did was I taped this back here. We put ribbon around the rough edges of it just because it was a little odd in some places. And so today in Knott County, I got to show that to Miss Etta. And it took her a while to recognize that was her artwork. But it was just something, you know, now I get to keep that with me forever, and I know what to do with it. Last year, gnomes are very popular this year. Last year, the ladies and I were at a meeting, and they decorated the tables with some gnomes, and I fell in love with them. Theirs had UK hats. It's a wine bottle. You may have a wine bottle. You may have access to a wine bottle. I ordered mine from the internet somewhere, that shop that we all shop from. I was going to be a tightwad and use lights like I used on my photo thing and put up the hat. It didn't quite work out. So I broke down and I ordered lights that have the wine stopper on them. And you just stuff them down in there. You can turn it on and off. We made the little face, just use fur. The next lady, Lakin, has some yarn that I think would really make a really pretty long beard. The nose is just one of those round knobs that has the flat edge. The hat, I told you all I talk with my hands. I can't help it. It's a hard cardboard cone. Cut some of it off. We wrapped fabric around it. And then we just made a little tail. Really simple. You can order this. Some of you will have the wine bottles that you can recycle. Some of you will have the fern. I had the fabric, but I just really wanted to make one of those. Any questions? Okay, next up we have Miss Lakin from Lee County.
Thank you. All right, how is everyone today? Good. Awesome, that's what we like to hear. So the first thing in the booklet I've got a loop-it wreath, and my model here is going to be showing it off. So this is very, very, very simple to do. You're going to use some of this loop-it yarn, and I used about 2.5 spools of it, and all I did was just wrap it around a foam wreath. And it was very, very simple. You probably could get by with just doing 2 spools instead of 2.5. I done it really, really tight. I used a white foam wreath instead of a green because I wanted to make sure that the green didn't show through. And then also on here, I've got some little holiday picks, just kind of like this that I've got here. And all I did was get some wire cutters and just kind of cut some of that off on the end, so when I put it down into the wreath, it doesn't poke out the other end. And kind of added 3 little picks in there. And I thought it was very, very cute, and it was very quick to make. Very, very quick. And I kind of secured it in there with some pins. And I had a lady in another county say that she wanted to do some red. And I was like, that's a great idea. There's a bunch of different colors. I know I went to the Walmart and Hazard on Wednesday. And, I mean, there was a lot of different colors of that loop-it yarn. So you can find that in a lot of places as well. All right, the next one we have here is our ornament wreath, and I'm very surprised that it has stayed intact and I've not lost any. But what we've got here is another foam wreath. If you flip it around, it's got some yarn or some ribbon that I found at the office, and all I did was wrap it around the foam wreath and kind of secure it with some sewing pins. And I just started gluing some ornaments around, and I done each row. And once I finished up with each row, I kind of put some smaller ones to kind of fill in that gap. And I got most of these ornaments I had at the office anyway, but I had to get a couple of the little ones to kind of fill in those gaps. So very, very cheap and easy to make. You can get some of those ornaments at the dollar store for $1. So very, very easy to make. Now, we're going to get into the more tedious wreaths. So this right here is is a coffee filter wreath, so it's made out of coffee filters. So I used another foam wreath, and what you're going to do is you've got a coffee filter, you're going to fold it in half again, and then fold it in half again, and then fold down the tip, and this is what you're going to have, and you're just going to glue this folded part down and do it kind of in layers. And someone asked me on the first roadshow that we done, asked me how many coffee filters I used. I said I did not count, but I used a pack and a half of coffee filters. And I noticed after I'd finished this that there's different colored coffee filters, a couple different colors. So if you wanted to try making it a different color, and you could also dye them, use some food coloring and dye it. And I also seen where you can get some watercolor and just kind of put it on the edge and the tips of the wreath and make a little ombre effect. So I thought that would be really neat, and I kind of topped it off with some of those leftover ornaments from my ornament wreath. And I will say it does take a very long time. If you do not like tedious activities, this is not one for you, but I just thought it looked very, very neat, and it was very unique to use coffee filters. And of course, I'm sure some of you guys, if you're coffee drinkers, you will have some of these lying around. So I just thought that was a very neat one to do. Alright, now the next one we have is the poinsettia wreath. Now, we've been talking about how we kind of like upcycling, using stuff around the house, and Linda's going to show you how I incorporated that into this one. Got a Little Caesars box on the back. So all I did was cut a circle out of some cardboard. You could use some of those like foam boards that you can get at the dollar store or at Walmart. And I just started out with some red burlap. And I think I used 3 rolls of this when doing it. And you have a 6x6 cut there, and you're just going to roll it up. And you're going to have something that kind of looks like this. You're just going to glue down that point in the middle. And you're just going to start out doing it all around the edge and just kind of fill it in. It started to flop over a little bit. We've been to 8 counties, so bear with it a little bit. But just kind of glued those into place. The only thing I wish I'd have done different was make my circle a little bit bigger and kind of glued a couple more in there. But normally I would have covered that up with felt or something. I just wanted to show you all that I used that pizza box, that you can use anything lying around your house. And the picks that are in the middle, or the little gold balls that are in the middle, are actually picks, those holiday picks. I just took the wire out of them and just glued those on. So it was very, very quick. If you have someone to help you, someone can cut, someone can glue, and someone can glue on there, it goes by very, very quick. I had a little assembly line going on at the house when I was making this one. All right, so next up is my recipe. It's cookies and cream dip, and this was also very easy to make. I had, let's see if I can remember all the ingredients. No, there's just 5, but there's cream cheese, cookies and cream pudding, cookies and cream cookies, butter, and powdered sugar. So very, very simple. You're going to start out with just putting the cream cheese and the butter in there. Now make sure you're patient and let it soften, because you will break 2 mixers like I have. So make sure you wait a little bit. And then just kind of add the powdered sugar in there. And I've done it 2 different ways. I have actually made the pudding and actually added the milk and stuff, and actually made the pudding separate and then added it into the mix. And I have also just added the powder in there. And both of them were really, really good. I actually liked the one that had the pudding mix in it a little bit better. It makes it a little bit creamier. But what you guys are having right now is the powdered mix. And it just makes it a little bit fluffier. I thought it looked a little bit better since it was a little bit fluffier. And you're tasting it with a chocolate graham cracker. So what'd y'all think of it? Awesome, awesome. That's what we like to hear. So do you guys have any questions for me? All right, next up we have Brittany from Leslie County.
Oh, I did have a question.
Yes.
Where'd you get those birds on that wreath?
I got it from Hobby Lobby.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a popular question.
Yeah.
I did sort of a mason jar theme because I have a plethora of mason jars in my office. So I was like, trying to think of something I could do kind of inexpensive and really quick. And I have a 2-year-old, and I like to do things quick and easy that I don't have to sit at home for hours to try to fix up. So my first one is a mason jar cookie Christmas candle, I think is what I called it. And you can unscrew it. And so I started by gluing the wick into the bottom. There's a little metal piece, and you hot glue it down there and let that set up. And then I took a double broiler, but you can use a pot with a bowl, and melt the wax. You don't want to put the wax directly on heat because it can ignite, and that would not be an ideal situation. And then while it's melting, you'll put in your scent, whatever scent you want. And you can use, they have candle scent, liquid candle scent at Walmart or in the candle section. And or essential oils or whatever you have laying around the house that would create a scent. And you can actually use like colored dye things or color wax, things like that. Or somebody mentioned yesterday crayons to color your wax if you want to make it a color. Or you can just decorate the jar real pretty. Once the wax is melted, you would just pour it into the jar, and your wick is a lot longer than that. So you have to let it set up before you cut it, though. So I had to use 2 pencils and tape them together to get the wick to stand straight while it was setting. But you can use craft sticks or whatever you have. Craft sticks will probably be better, but pencils worked fine. So, and then once it's set, you'll cut the wick down to where, whatever level you need. And you can use any size jar. You would just add more wax if you wanted a bigger candle. And then you could decorate it however you wanted to. And then I think the next one in your book is my Christmas potpourri. And I thought this was really cute for like a gift exchange to give somebody. It's very inexpensive. So you just take a mason jar with a wide mouth, and it's a orange, and it has some cranberries. I have dried cranberries in this jar up here, but fresh cranberries would look really pretty in it, especially if you're just going to give it like that day or the next day. I just did it with dried because we were traveling to 8 counties. It was a lot easier and a lot less messy. And rosemary figs, ground nutmeg, and whole cloves, and some cinnamon sticks. And so then on this little tag, it has the directions to create your potpourri. And you would just cut up the orange, put 3 cups of water in a pot on simmer, and then pour all the other ingredients in there, and it smells so good. My jar from last week kind of looked a little rough, so at the office on Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember which day, but I opened the jar up and I split the orange, and it was like Christmas in our office. It was great. I was like, I gotta turn some Christmas music on. And you can decorate the jar. I'm not very crafty, so I just kind of put a piece of mesh on there and a little string. And then lastly, for my crafts, is the Christmas tree in a mason jar. This is a 64-ounce mason jar with a wide mouth, and you can buy 2 on Amazon for $20. And I painted it with white chalk paint. You could use acrylic. You just want to make sure when you're putting different layers of paint that you let the first layer dry, because it'll peel right back off if you don't let it dry all the way. And then I just got 2.5-inch ribbon, glued it down here, and then this tree came from the $5 or the dollar section at Target. It was $5, but you can buy those trees at Walmart, the Dollar Tree, dollar store, anywhere. And then I had my snap-it assistant make me some bows because she's real good at that. And you could add ornaments, whatever you wanted to make a good centerpiece for your table, or really anything. And then lastly is the sugar cookie truffle, and it is a lot like an Oreo ball if you've ever made or had those. They're really good and sweet. I took hard sugar cookies. You could do the prepackaged ones. I finally found some of those. They're really hard to find at the Dollar General store for $1, whole pack of them. So you take about 15 of those and put them in a blender and crush them real fine, and then you're going to take 2 to 3 ounces of cream cheese. I will say with the Dollar General ones, I had to use a little bit more cream cheese, so that's never a bad thing. And use a little bit extra cream cheese in there, and then you roll the balls. After you get that all mixed up, you'll roll the balls, whatever size you want. You don't have to make them this little, but really, when you taste it, you'll see that it's pretty sweet, so that size is like a little bit perfect. And you'll roll the balls, put them in the freezer, let them freeze about 20 to 30 minutes. You can let them go further if you don't want to dip them in the chocolate right away. Then you're going to melt your chocolate in the microwave, roll the balls in the chocolate, and if you want the sprinkles, you want to put the sprinkles on before the chocolate sets up, and that chocolate dries really fast, so you're kind of rolling and put the sprinkles on like at the same time. And that is all I have, and Nanette is next.
Before I start showing my, if you have not signed the sign-in sheet, please do so. If you have it, if you can just start passing it down, because I know I've counted more heads than I saw signatures. It's for a door prize at the end. So make sure that you have signed your name. Maybe I was holding it. The crafts are start on page 18, and the first craft is the paint stick frames. And these right here are the frames that we have. The three sizes are in your handout. This right here is foam board. It is not a chalkboard, but if you wanted to buy a chalkboard and put the paint sticks around it, you can. On the paint sticks, this summer we did a craft. Several of you were here that done the craft with the flags and the paint stick flags. And we had a local hardware store that donated several paint sticks, but we still needed several more, so I did go to a home improvement store in Hazard and bought a 3-pack of paint sticks. And you all know all paint sticks have a little divot here that is for your grip to stir your paint. You will have to cut off that paint stick at that little groove. So you cut that off. After you cut it, you want to stain. We had some stain here at the office. We just used the stain and stained it. And then let the stain dry. Once the stain dries, you want to get your foam board and put 2 of your sticks in the corner. And I did have foam board here at the office. You can buy this at all kinds of different department stores, Dollar Trees and things like that. And it's fairly cheap and it's a big sheet. But once you put the paint sticks down using glue, I did use E6000 glue. Once you put it down, you cannot pick it up and move it because you see what it does. It leaves a stain. So make sure that you put it down and put it down correctly the first time. Try to have a steady hand when doing this. And then let it dry overnight. And after it dries, we have a cutting machine here at the office. There's several different machines that you can use, a Cricut, Silhouette, things like that. And the only thing I had to buy for this project, I had everything here at the office except the colored peel and stick vinyl. So I did go down to the scrapbook store here in Whitesburg, picked up some color peel and stick vinyl. We made our design and put it down. When you do this right here, make sure that you do put it down as close as you can, because once you put it down, there's no moving it. As you can see with the Believe, it's over here to my left a little bit further, so we just added a couple of snowflakes in there to make it not so off-centered. Or my right, I guess, I'm not sure all's. But if you didn't know, you would think that's how we intended to do it. And then if you wanted to, you could put hangers on the back of this. You can use the little wood ones that you can put into the paint stick, hang it on the wall. You can use jute and just glue it onto the back of the foam board and hang it, or you can just do like what I've done, just put it on the easel and have it out for display. Now, if you wanted to do a chalkboard, you could do the chalkboard and you could have a stencil and color the stencil in with the different color chalk, and you could do all different, just wipe it off and do another stencil for another holiday. So you could use it year round if you used a chalkboard. The next one is the home wood slice. I did purchase the wood slice. You see on the table, I do have some that we cut here at the office from a tree that fell. But I didn't want to use those because I use them for table decorations. So I did go out and purchase this one. You can purchase this at different department stores that sell crafts. But if I'd have waited about 3 weeks ago, we did cut some trees down here at the office. But we had to have all of our crafts turned in so we get ready for the Holiday Roadshow. So I already had this made back in the summer. But the only thing you do is take a wood slice, black acrylic paint, paint a circle onto the wood slice, leave a little space on the edges so you can see the wood slice, and then take green acrylic paint, just do intertwining circles, put little green dashes for leaves, and then little red dots for the holly. You could also use chalkboard or chalk paint and paint on there. That way, if you didn't have a cutting machine, you could take a stencil, or if you had really pretty handwriting, you could just use chalk and write whatever saying you wanted. Welcome home, anything you wanted to put on there. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. So you can do things like that. This also, you can put a hanger on the back if you wanted to hang it up. Or you could even do the jute and glue that on or staple it onto the back of the wood slice. If I was doing this at home, I would actually have the wood slice a little thinner, so that way it wouldn't be so bulky. Or you could even put it on the easel like I have here.
Can she walk down here with that?
Yeah, she can walk down there with it. But you're all going to have about 10, 15 minutes after the program's over with to come up here and look and ask questions. So if you all need to ask questions afterwards, we'll be up here for you all to answer, for us to answer the questions. Okay, the last thing I have is the Bourbon Barrel Simply Blessed wooden sign. I didn't intend for this to be a bourbon barrel, but instead of going out and buying something, I just used what we had here at the office. You all know we've had several bourbon barrel workshops, and I had about 2 or 3 left over, so decided to use it to make this sign. You can use, Brittany, if you'll turn that around, you can use this little piece of Luan board if you want to cut a circle and you wanted to hang this on the door, because the bourbon barrel lid is too heavy to hang on a door. But what we did, took a 3-inch place toward the bottom, taped it off, stained it with the stain that we had here at the office, after that dried, taped off the stained part so we could paint the top and bottom, use white acrylic paint. This was a bright white. And you see it's sort of a cream color because the wood behind it has come through. Put a couple of coats on. But before you start painting, sand your piece of wood. And you can buy wood circles already made if you don't want to cut one yourself at home improvement stores, craft stores, things like that. And then after it was painted and everything dried, took the cutting machine again, put out Simply Blessed and put it on there. And after we put that on there, I had a screw in the back left open, did buy a bow for this project, and attached the bow to the back side. That way the bow can be taken off for every season. And that was another reason I put Simply Blessed on it, was because it's something you could leave out year round. Now you could do, this is a peel and stick vinyl on here, so if you want to take that off, you could peel it off and you could put Happy Thanksgiving or Happy Fall or Merry Christmas or Happy Spring. So you could do different things if you didn't want to paint it, and that's why I did not paint this. I just done the sticker to where if we wanted to change out the wording, you could. But the plan is for this to sit on the fireplace, and if you do use a bourbon barrel lid, make sure you have a heavy-duty easel that will hold up the weight, because that's probably about 10 to 12 pounds. So, and that is it. So, just remember, if you've not signed in, sign the sign-in sheet, and we'll... Oh, sorry, I didn't do my recipe. Thank you, Brittany. The recipe I have is pecan and maple cream cookie cups. The cookie is sugar cookie dough pucks. It's like the little pucks that you lay down on a cookie sheet, and it turns into a cookie. You take those, put it into a mini muffin tin. It says to grease it and flour it. I've learned do not grease, do not flour, because it does make the cookie really, really hard. And then after you put the cookie puck in the cookie tin, or the muffin tin, put a thumbprint down into the cookie. And after that, get a half a teaspoon of chopped pecans and put it into the little thumbprint. Bake it. It says for 15 to 20 minutes. I found out through making this, it's about 11 to 13 minutes you need to bake it. And then bring it out, let it cool for just a few minutes, and then you want to twist each cookie cup in the tin to make sure that it comes loose. And then as it's cooling completely, you want to use, take this time to make your maple cream. And what this is 1.5 cups of Cool Whip and 1/4 cup of real maple syrup. This syrup that you are eating is the Letcher County Extension Office maple syrup that we made here at the Extension Office. So it is the real maple syrup. You and Knott County are the only 2 counties that got to eat the real maple syrup from Letcher County because we didn't have a whole lot, so I saved it for today. Everybody else got store-bought real maple syrup. So, okay, any questions? Next is Crystal from Owsley County. Okay, so my recipe is coming around. The recipe that I made for you today is corn dip. It's a really easy recipe to make, and it's a good appetizer to take if you need an appetizer to take to any kind of gathering. The recipe takes 1 can of corn, and I actually used a white corn. The white corn, for some reason, gives it a better flavor. And then it also called for pepper. I did not put the pepper in it today because I know a lot of people don't like hot foods. So if you like hot foods and you want to make it at home, you can add the pepper in it at home. I just didn't want to be passing around hot foods in case people didn't like that. But the rest of the ingredients in there is tomato, cilantro, mayonnaise, cheddar jack cheese, cumin, chili powder, salt, and lime juice. And you just mix all that up. Let it chill for a little bit before you serve it because it is better after it's gotten cold and those seasonings and flavors mix. You can serve it with tortilla chips or corn chips. It's actually really good with corn chips too, so that's an option. Do y'all like it? It's got a really good flavor. Okay, so my items that I have for you today are, I used a recycled Christmas tree. How many of y'all have Christmas trees laying around that you don't use, you don't really know what to do with them, you're hesitant to throw them away? Well, I have something for you to do with those. The first couple of items that I made are swags. The first one is this. This is a swag that I made for my outdoor lights at my house, and it's actually just 2 branches. The net's holding the branches. You'll want to lay it this way, and you'll want to turn the branches all on one side and have your metal pointing in, and then on your second one do the same. So you'll want it to look like this. You'll have your metal points pointing in. And then one thing to remember, a lot of these are color coded, so you want to make sure that you have branches with the same color, because if not, you can see right here these are not the same. They might not be the same length if you don't have the same color. So once you get those together, you're just going to take one of the limbs and you're going to twist it on the top, twist one in the middle, and then one at the bottom, and that holds it all together. And then all I did was bought a pre-made bow. I bought a pre-made bow and just a simple ornament, and I attached that. And then you can this acts as a hook to put it on your lights, your outside lights. One thing I want to mention, when you're getting ready to put this together, check your lights to see where you're going to actually attach it, because you might want to make sure that you leave this a little bit more open, because this metal does not bend very good. So just depending on your light and where you're going to attach it, you want to that will determine how it needs to be. This is just one branch, as you can see, and then I attached a bow. It's some ribbon I had for something else at home, and then I just hung this on the back of my chairs on my front porch. I did 2, and I hung one on each chair. This could be used in lots of different places. You could hang it on windows. Someone mentioned something in Knott County, I can't remember, fireplace maybe. So you could, anywhere you wanted to add a little bit of greenery, you could add this. The next item I have is a garland. And on this one, I just attached the two pieces together, and you could make this garland as big as you wanted by just continuing to add branches. One thing you want to keep in mind, this metal does not bend, so you can't wrap it around anything, so you'll want to make sure that it's going to be on a flat surface like your fireplace, a table, or something like that.
It'd be nice to put in the center of a table.
Yes, it would. And then you can add pretty much anything you want to this. So I just added this ribbon, and these branches come in really handy because you all noticed I wrapped them around to hold it, and then I just took a branch every so often and attached the ribbon to give it that look. And then you could add ornaments. You could add anything you want to decorate it up. And then my last item is this tree, and I actually made the tree out of a tomato cage. So I just, one thing to keep in mind, if you're using tomato cages that you've used in your garden, make sure you use one that's in really good shape, because when I did these at home last year, mine was a little bit, it had been used several times, you could tell. So my trees were a little bit lopsided. I had a little bit of trouble keeping them sitting up straight, so I ended up wiring them to something so that they didn't move a lot. But on this one, just for packing it around to the 8 counties, I actually cut some of the tomato cage off just so that it wasn't so big. So you can make these in different sizes if you want to cut the tomato cage. So what I did for this is I just took a garland, and it was a garland that I had bought, not one of these because it won't wrap, and you attach it with a zip tie. So at the beginning you can use a zip tie, wrap it all the way around till you get to the end, and then attach it with a zip tie at the end. And then based on how big you make it, you may need another garland. It took 2 to do this one. And then at the top I took the zip tie and brought all the points together so that it made one point. And I added the ribbon and the lights, and again you could add a pick if you wanted. You could add other decorations, ornaments, whatever you wanted. And this is actually something that I used on my front porch, so I put one on each side of my door. This is Glenna from Perry County.
All of you who know me know that I really enjoy doing things that are more traditional, heritage skills types of things. So that is why, okay, my recipes are just coming around. They just realized that. In your book, at least in the ones we've been using, this starts on page 28, and I'm starting with the recipes. I really enjoy doing sourdough bread, and for some of you who attended the workshop here last month, a couple months ago, I sort of told you the background of that, but what I want to share with you here is back in April, all of us FCS agents went to a workshop and we learned to make sourdough bread. Well, I continued doing that after I vowed as I walked out the door that day that I was just going to throw away the starter and never do anything with it. So I have really enjoyed making sourdough bread, and I've continued to make it. So today you have 2 samples. One is the holiday braid, and the other is a banana bread. Both of these do have nuts in them, so if you have a nut allergy, you'll want to avoid the pecans in the banana bread and the almonds in the holiday braid. Both of these are made with just regular bread flour. I have started doing some with whole wheat, but all of these. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to do was, ladies have all these really creative things for the holidays. What I do are things that you do all year. There's no reason you can't.
Go ahead.
Give these as gifts or whatever, but it's something you need to start early on throughout the year. So, Crystal is going to Well, I have two hands, but still Crystal can help. Okay, this is Swedish weaving, and I know that one of you ladies does beautiful Swedish weaving here, and there she is, she's waving, because I've seen it. Swedish weaving can be done on any type of even weave fabric. So any of you who have done cross stitch or counted cross stitch, that's what I'm holding here. Crystal is holding monk's cloth. The difference between all of these fabrics is that this counted cross stitch fabric says 11 count on it. This one says 14. That one does not say, but monk's cloth is a 7 count. Now what that means is that if it says 11 on it, that means there's 11 threads per inch, which means you can see it pretty well. The one that says 14 has 14 threads per inch, which means it's harder to see. The 7 count has 7 threads per inch, so I can see it really well. So I really enjoy working on monk's cloth. But to do Swedish weaving, it is a charted design, so you have to have an even weave fabric, and you will use a tapestry needle, which is a large-eyed needle that has a blunt point so you don't poke yourself. Now, Crystal and I are going to hold up some towels. All of these towels that we have here started out as 4-H projects. Well, I always start with my homemakers first and try it out on them and see how long it's going to take, and then we move on to 4-H because we like to do needlework with 4-H. This fabric is called huck toweling. It's a little different. It's much smaller, and you do use embroidery floss to do this. So these two are huck toweling. This is a towel made from monk's cloth, and I'll explain why we have a towel made from monk's cloth. I don't really know how functional it's going to be, but this is the recommended 4-H pattern. When I tried it with my homemakers, and after 3 hours of struggling, and we only had like 2 or 3 rows done, I knew this was not something that we were going to have youth be able to complete. So I came up with a different design because the guidelines said that the design had to be about 3 inches, so the border had to be 3 inches. So this worked out by leaving a space in the middle. So we did a lot of these, and we were very pleased with ourselves, and we did quite well at the state fair with our 4-H projects. And then this year they changed guidelines again. We had to have a 6-inch border. So we used monk's cloth and yarn so they could do it more quickly because they could see what they were doing. And those of us older women who were helping them could see what they were doing and whether they were making mistakes. So that's how our towels have changed. You have directions in there for a bread cloth. The bread cloth was the very first project that we taught. So what this is, and Crystal can carry it around that direction, but the basket's getting really flimsy because it's just one of those cheap ones that you pick up at a dollar store. You have directions for this bread cloth. What a bread cloth is, it's simply like a napkin that you want to put in a basket. You want it to be pretty, to kind of show off your holiday breads. And if you look at the design there and the design here, you will see that it's the same thing. We just kept repeating the row on here. So, once I find something that works, I'll just adapt it and, keep going however we need to. Oh, and this is all my nice fake food. My fake food. Now, here is something. that I've been, yeah, I'm trying to, we can do it this way. Now, this Afghan, I have been working on this for approximately 2 months. I had thought I would have it finished before this holiday roadshow. But when you can only work on something a couple hours a night, it takes a long time to get something done. So it's getting closer. As you can see, I have a thread down here. It's because I'm working on an edging. And with Afghans, you have to decide how you're going to finish the edge. So there's lots of ways to do it. I decided I did not want to hem it. I also could have bound it. But once I saw directions for doing this other stitch and fringing it, I wanted to try that. So that's what I'm doing right now. I just have 2 sides finished. So I still have another long edge and a short one to complete. So at least you all got to see what a fringed edge looks like. This is called Circles of Love. And Swedish weaving is now coming, it's becoming more popular. Everything goes in cycles. Now, if you are interested in learning to do Swedish weaving, the homemaker lesson for May is Swedish weaving. And I will be coming here and teaching any of you who want to learn how to do Swedish weaving. Of course, I know you've got some people here that can teach it themselves, but we'll be doing a very simple project. Most likely it will be using monk's cloth, which is big enough that we can see if we're making a mistake or what we're supposed to be doing. So it will be posted in your newsletter or however you normally get your information. So in May, I will be back to teach Swedish weaving to anyone who'd like to learn. Okay, and next, she's in the kitchen. We have Alyssa from Wolf County. And she has a healthy recipe, so if you're getting kind of sick on all the sweets, you can have a change of pace here.
All right, thank you, Janet. Like she said, my name's Alyssa. I'm the new FCS agent in Wolf County. So this is all of my crafts that I've made today for the Holiday Roadshow. And as you can kind of see, the common theme among all of these are that they are made with the wooden discs. So the discs I actually got, I'll show you guys on the back of this one. These discs are actually a cut up tree branch. So what I did was I found a tree branch in my yard that I wanted to use to make these crafts for you today. And I had the bright idea that I was going to take my hand saw that I have, because I'm not a fan of power tools. I haven't been properly trained how to use them, so I don't. And I got my hand saw out and I was going to cut up this branch to make all of these wood slices. And I cut up one and I was done with that, rather than cutting up all of these. So I took it to my dad and he used his saw to cut up all of my wood slices for these crafts today. So if you're like me and don't use power tools, you can purchase these on Amazon. You can get a pack of 30 for $15, so they're relatively affordable and they already have the holes drilled in the top. Or you can purchase them at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any type of craft store that you frequent. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this wooden ornament. It is made with, of course, the wooden slice, and then I have used sheet music on top to decoupage it. So the sheet music is actually from a set of old hymnals that were donated to our office for craft purposes. If you don't have any sheet music lying around that you don't want to use for that, you don't want to cut it up, you could certainly print out a sheet of music off the internet and use that to make your paper for this ornament. And then I use decoupage to adhere it to the wood. So if you're not familiar with decoupage, it's like a glue-like substance and it dries clear. So what I did is I used a sponge brush to apply the decoupage to the wood piece, and then I put the sheet of paper on top and allowed that to dry, and then I put another layer of the decoupage on top of that. The word joy written on there, I wrote that with a paint pen. If you don't like your own handwriting, you could certainly use a stamp. Like if you go buy some stamps to do the books that Linda showed you earlier, you could use some stamps on this as well. Or you could just leave it blank. I really like the look with just the black and white on the wood. I thought it was very rustic, and it would match any decor that you have around for the holidays. And then the embellishments on top, the greenery is just a holiday pick that I had lying around that I wasn't using, and I just clipped some greenery off and hot glued it to the top and tied a bow on there. And then I used twine to make a hanger for the tree. Next I have this wooden wreath. So as you can see, I used the wood slices on it as well. So the first thing that I did was I hot glued the wooden slices to a piece of cardboard. I had originally thought that I was going to put the wood slices directly onto the grapevine wreath. However, there's not enough surface touching each other for them to adhere very well. So I glued them to a piece of cardboard, and then I cut around the cardboard so it wouldn't show behind the pieces. After that was set and dry, I tied the cardboard to the grapevine wreath to make it stay on there pretty good. I would actually recommend, if you have some, using some zip ties so that it stays on there in place really tight. And the grapevine wreath, if you guys don't know where to purchase some of those, they have them at the Dollar Tree, you can get them at Walmart, and of course any craft store, you can get them plain. The one that I actually used for this, it was an old wreath that we had at our office, and it had been put in our storage building, and the decorations on it, the ribbons and all the embellishments had been kind of smushed and they were wrinkled, and there wasn't really any salvaging it. It wasn't going to look good if we put it up in our office. So I actually just cut everything off of it and kept the grapevine wreath. And then on the side over here, the decorations on the side, that is actually one of the teardrop decorations that you can hang around like on doorknobs and on your cabinets and stuff during the holidays. I got that at the dollar store, and then I tied it to the side to make the decoration. However, if you are a proficient bow maker, a cute bow would look good on there, or you could also purchase a bow, or some fresh greenery from outside would look really great on there as well. Alright. Finally, I have this garland made out of the wood slices. So this one says Merry Christmas. So what I did for this, it was pretty simple. I just took the wood slices and then I used the decoupage again to put the letters on there. I printed out the letters onto some cardstock. So you want to use a firm paper if you're going to do the decoupage so that they don't bend whenever you're cutting it. So then I cut out these letters, decoupaged them onto the top, and as you can see, it dried clear. And then I used twine to weave it through the top to make hangers for it. So this one was completely free. If you were to make this at home, most of us have twine at home, and if you were to actually cut up your own branch rather than purchasing one, it would be very affordable. So this is about as basic as it gets. If you wanted to dress it up more for the holidays, you could weave it through some green garland like Crystal showed you earlier, or you could add some Christmas ornaments, hang them on there as well to add some color. If you wanted to make something that wasn't so seasonal like this, you could change the phrase on the garland to say maybe welcome, or say your last name, or any type of cute phrase that you want hanging around your house all year long. So you guys should have gotten my recipe. So it is bacon and tomato dip.
It is made with light sour cream, light mayonnaise, garlic powder, tomatoes, and bacon. So the reason it is made with light sour cream and light mayonnaise is because those two ingredients make this recipe diabetic friendly. So if you or someone that you know, someone that you're going to serve around the holidays, is a diabetic, you may know that it's pretty difficult to meet everybody's needs while making food that tastes good that everybody wants to eat. So I think that this recipe is pretty tasty, even with the light mayonnaise and the light sour cream. So it can appease everybody. I think if I hadn't have told anybody that there wasn't light mayonnaise or light sour cream, you wouldn't even know. So usually when I do stuff like that with my own family, I don't tell them. So today I've served this to you guys with crackers. You could certainly use celery sticks or sliced up bell peppers or carrot sticks, broccoli, whatever vegetable that you like to eat your dips with, and that would taste really good as well. I want to make a note that if you were to actually change the mayonnaise or the sour cream to the regular kind, it would no longer be diabetic friendly, so that would mess with those diabetics' blood sugar. So this is a great recipe around the holidays if you have a lot of health conditions that you need to account for in your family. Does anybody have any questions? Well, thank you very much.
Okay, if you all will finish up with your evaluation and just leave your envelope and your evaluation at the place where you're sitting. If you'll just do that real fast, the envelope and your evaluation. The next thing I'm going to talk about, if you all have noticed behind us, is a quilt. This is the 2020 Census Quilt Project. This is a collaboration between the Kentucky Extension Homemakers Association and the U.S. Census Bureau. They created a unique quilt featuring one square from each of the 120 counties. This special quilt debuted at the National Quilt Museum. It will travel statewide. We were one of the lucky spots to get the quilt for 1 week. And this is demonstrating that each county matters and reminding viewers that every person must be counted for Kentucky to have appropriate congressional representation and federal funding. So this is going to be, I'm going to take it to Lexington next week, and I think it's going to Johnson County next. It came from Bell County on Monday. I picked it up Monday and brought it back here, and we set it up on Tuesday. So if you all want to look at this, you can go up there. Don't touch, please, because we did have to wear white gloves to put it up. But if you want to look, we had a block. Our block is the bottom left, 3 up. It is a green, blue, and yellow quilt, and I'm not sure remember the pattern.
No, I don't either.
Kathy Fisher, she is a Crafty Cut-Ups homemaker. She made the quilt block for Letcher County. But if you want to look at the other counties, you can. There is a little demonstration over here or a guide that will tell you. You just have to count it. Start at one corner, count over, and count up, and that will tell you which county it came from. Because not all counties have a county name on it. Ours did not. There were several that only had, that did not have the county name on it. So please look at this. It's something unique. I don't know, 10 years ago, they did do a quilt project about 10 years ago when the census was going around again. I'm not sure if Letcher County had one in that quilt. I know when I was working in Leslie County, we did not. So I don't know if Letcher County actually did a quilt block back then. But if you want to look at that, come up here and look. And if you have any questions, I'll come up here and just look at all the stuff, and we will be behind here standing to answer any questions that you have on any of the crafts that we have done. I appreciate each and every one of you attending the 2019 Holiday Roadshow. And this is something that we do every year. And so there's 8 of us in the Quicksand area that come up here and we do each county. So this is our 8th county. We're the last one to get done this week. So we did 4 last week and 4 this week. Okay, thank you all.